I'm Steve Tuls from Ottawa County, and these are the 2 bucks that I shot in 2019. The first buck is this buck. I shot him on October 18th with a crossbow. I had left work about 5 o'clock, raced to get to my blind, and got into the ground blind, and there were deer kind of running everywhere. I remember it was a kind of a clear, crisp night, and deer running all over. And all of a sudden I heard grunting, and he came grunting like a pig chasing the doe. The doe ran into my food plot, spun around, took off running, and he came trotting in, and I didn't dare grunt or anything at him. I'd never seen one that big. He stopped right behind an apple tree, and then walked directly away from me, so I had no shot. Then he turned slightly quartering away, but mostly broadside at about 40 yards. So I took the shot with the crossbow. His tail went down, he ran out of the food plot and hopped over a ditch, and I thought, man, I smoked that deer. He's dead. So about 45 minutes later, it's dark. Went back with a couple of friends. We went back into the woods, and we heard something go crashing back out, and I thought, that does not sound good. He had crossed the creek, ran across the big opening where we did find some blood, and then he went through the creek again, only it was probably about 5 foot deep where he went through, and the blood on the other side of the creek was just pin drops. We basically lost track of them. We backed out for the night. The next morning, where the blood drops headed, he could have gone any number of ways. So we just started beating brush as much as we could. I had a couple buddies with me, and we searched and searched, did not find him. Sunday, I went to church with my family, and we're coming home, and I said, honey, you guys can go for lunch, do whatever you want to do. I'm gonna find that deer. So I strapped on some waders and just started beating brush, and it took me, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 hours, but I did find him. He was laying next to the river. So about the only good thing that came out of that was I was able to haul him back out the river. That was probably one of the easiest drags I've ever had, because he floated right down the river. So that buck scored a typical 8-point frame. He's got a 1 inch sticker there on the base. He scored 132 6/8. That was my biggest buck to date at the time. So I kept hunting the rest of the season, kind of off and on. On November 5th, actually, as we were tracking this one, I had another stand that I had a mock scrape set up, and we noticed that there were about 3 or 4 different scrapes around that scrape. And so I went in there and I kind of scraped them all together and made one big scrape, and apparently that ticked him off. There were deer scrapes and rubs all over the area, and November 5th I got 2 trail camera pictures of this buck. I had not seen him before, and I found out, I actually pieced it together later with a prior video that I did have video of him 2 years prior to me shooting him, and he was a very big buck then. I would have shot him then as a 4.5-year-old. He was 6.5 when I shot him last year. So on November 5th, I see these two gigantic pictures. It was very hard to tell what they were. They were kind of blurry pictures, but I knew it was big. So that was, I believe, a Tuesday. I hunted Wednesday night, Thursday night. I took Friday off. I hunted all day Friday, hunted all day Saturday, and then went to church Sunday morning. As soon as I got home, ate lunch with my family and went right back out to my tree stand and sat and sat and sat. Nothing. Sat Monday night, didn't see anything. And then we hit Tuesday night, which was November 12th. We just got dumped on with snow. If you were in that area, you remember that. I think we got 10 or 12 inches of snow in that day, and I called my wife and said, honey, is there any possible way I can hunt tonight? And I didn't think she was going to give me the green light, but she said, well, actually, I've been talking to the neighbors, and I think we're going to go sledding, so go ahead if you want to go. So 5 o'clock sharp, I flew out the door from my office, raced to get to the property, and threw my gear on. It's about a 20 to 25 minute drive, plus throwing on my gear. I got into my ground blind at about 5:30, and as I sat down, my phone rings. It buzzes. And it's my wife, and I said, you know, what, I answered her, hello, and she says, you're already hunting? I said, yeah. Well, I guess I'll let you go then, go ahead. So I no more than put my phone away, and I look up, and here comes a buck coming out of the bottom. And I first glance, I thought, oh, it looks like a little 6 or something. And he comes out of the brush. Oh, he's bigger than what I thought he is. And as he's walking, he's getting closer and closer, and he stopped behind a tree that had blown over. And I thought, yeah, he's much taller than what the pictures had let on. I have to shoot this deer. So he kept walking, and he made it right in between some trees, and I squeaked out a meh, and he stopped, and he turned his head, and he looked directly at me, and it was a perfect broadside shot at about 10 yards. So double lunged him right behind the shoulder, and he went right through the same opening that the other deer had. I was a little gun shy, so I freaked out. I called my dad. I said, I just shot another one, and you're never going to believe it, but it's bigger. And we went back, and I sat with my dad, and we waited for 2 of my other buddies to show up. And it took about an hour for my buddy to get there, and that was a long wait to wait for him. But at the same time, it was good because it let me calm down, and after having lost the first one, I didn't want that to happen again. He had only gone about 10 yards into the woods, and he'd laid down. He was dead right there. So what I realized afterward was when I called my dad immediately after I made the shot, that was 5:41. So it was approximately 11 minutes between when I sat down and when I shot him. Very, very quick, but just being in the right place at the right time, that was pretty much all that made the difference. And this one grossed at 177 inches and net 172. I believe it is the 2nd or 3rd largest buck for Ottawa County for their records. So that's dream season for sure for me. I don't know if I'll ever get anywhere close again, but together it's 304 inches and 2/8 or 6/8.